The sky was blue over the African horizon as Daharu looked into the distance from his front porch in the cool Zaria morning breeze. Already, he could tell it was going to be a hot day. With the present state of events, it was not clear what would happen to the empire. His people had hoped they could amass enough wealth and resources to embark on a fresh campaign down into the hinterlands, vis-a-vis the present dwindling fortunes of the empire. The coming of the French and the British on the heels of the Portuguese had made that virtually impossible. The elders had warned this would happen. There and then, he thought to himself, anyone who accepts this new move of the white man to bring back Christianity, which their forefathers had once witnessed, must this time have a very firm foundation on which to build it. Not even in the world of the whites have they ever built a house without a firm foundation. It is that way for an empire. It was 30 years since the inroad of the British in Hausaland. Kabaru was on a journey to visit his friend
Dafe
in Benin. This was an important diplomatic mission, and its success would determine much of what the future of this new empire would entail. The chiefs had accepted it, albeit under the unmatchable force of the modern weapons of the whites. But would there be a way out? Could the strength of the mystical forces of Islam have a partner in the old Benin infrastructure? Alas, the Benin people were the only force capable of withstanding, in partnership with the Hausa Empire, this new system of the white man. His two-day visit with Dafe was mostly decided before it even began. It was resolved. The Benin priests had agreed that the only way to conquer the white man was to institute a new regime of child upbringing. The children of the wind were to be nurtured to copy a new breed. No longer would the raising of children without second sight be a taboo. Instead, they were to be ignored and followed. The white man depended on these types for his technology and civilization. In time, the old ways would be restored. Daharu was despondent, but when he imagined these processes in his mind as he journeyed back home, he allowed himself to hope, and a weak smile flashed across his face. Baba was the new president of Nigeria. He knew he would have to remain steadfast in his efforts to convince the monarchs that the way followed 50 years ago was still the right path. Nigeria, this new land, could be prosperous again, given the success of the implementation of the white man system. But the monarchs were adamant. There must be a return to the former ways. The hegemony of the elders was fast eroding, and the cultural ways were slowly but surely being forgotten. Kabaru II was waiting outside Baba's office to discuss this very matter. The secretary let him in, and the two men began to talk. Baba was reluctant and unconvinced about Kabaru II's position. He laughed. No, Your Highness. Just because these youth are being educated in the white man's ways does not mean they will fail as leaders. In fact, they are making very powerful strides in taking our people forward in the global world. He gave examples, a young engineer who had recently developed a yam processing machine. Baba said, if we had encouraged this young man, God knows what we would have harnessed from his invention. But now he is overseas and refuses to return to this country. He has since gotten asylum in a foreign land. Another example was a young poet who had been awarded the prestigious Nobel Prize. Baba could not see how the elders could ignore these developments. Now we can have more children and there are fewer wars between tribes, he added. But Kabaru II was adamant. The ways of the ancients cannot be allowed to fade away, he declared. From henceforth, every youth that had gone abroad to study in the white man's land, especially the children of the chiefs under their domain, would be punished. How were they to do it? Corruption was to be allowed according to the ways of the forefathers. Any child who lost his second sight, as a result of being cut off from the community, by going abroad and refusing to submit to the rituals of sustaining the bond, would have himself to blame. He stood up and walked out of Baba's office, visibly angry and disappointed with Baba's position. Baba knew he had to compromise a little, observing Kabiru's resolve. In his lonely office, Leng was sitting. His good friend Lenku and in-law Wak had just visited. He enjoyed their occasional hangouts, even though it was office hours. It kept him apprised of things happening in the larger world. Since he had returned from his studies abroad, Baba's regime had changed everything. The country was ruled under corrupt leaders, and even young lads who were way behind him in school had bought cars and built houses under this new order fueled by corruption. Leng had come home with a car, but the authorities had allowed it to be stolen at the port. He was struggling with lack of promotion and a very miserly salary. Leng, though, had determined not to participate. He believed in the white man's system through Christianity. His grandfather had accepted it. His father had rejected it, but before his death had instructed Leng to just follow his grandfather's ways. Galong, with a faint smile on his face, had said before he died of a long-drawn liver problem, "I like what I see. This white man's technology will change everything. Don't play with school, Leng." He said that before he closed his eyes, and he was no more. Now, 20 years later, after his father's instruction, Leng was unsure, because things were moving in the very opposite direction. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the continuation.